that are made by the minority 2%, 3% of the world. If you can try to be a producer, if you can try to be, a creator and adding some net positive value into the society, that will be absolutely remarkable. And that's how the society goes from 0 to 1. Yeah, so that's why I support Vivek and Trump.
No, it's a interesting point about the consumers and producers, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you grew up mostly in India, right? And
correct.
then you came here recently. So, like, what was the change for you when you came? Like, when you came here, did you always know you wanted to be like on the producer side, like on the entrepreneur side, or was it something where after you came here, you saw an opportunity and you decided to pursue it?
That's an interesting question. Before I answer that question, I want to just talk about the entrepreneurial trigger when I had it, and I think that'll lead up to when I wanted to be a producer, because being an entrepreneur equals being a producer as well, because you're creating value. And when I came here as an 18-year-old to University of Ottawa in 2016, after perhaps 2 semesters of studying in in the university, I wanted to become financially free, and that eventually drove me into the e-commerce space, selling products, and that eventually led me to drop shipping. Of course, there were many failed businesses in between, but it eventually led me to the successful ventures that that are part of the business, and that's when I started thinking from a different perspective as a producer, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to create this podcast as well, producing content. I think content creation will put you apart in your personal branding, and that will distinctly divide you from the mediocre people. When I say mediocre, I don't mean it in a disrespectful way. I just mean it in the most realistic sense. Think about that. When you enter a restaurant or a club, there are hundreds of guys like who look like you and me, right? So how would you have always had that unsated hunger, unquenched hunger, unquenched thirst within me, that I need to be better. I need to be, when I enter a club or a restaurant, everyone should look at me and say, hey, that's SDK. I've seen his video. I have seen this. I have used his products or services. You got to have that differentiating factor within your personal brand. And that's the reason, we are doing this podcast as well. It's not for money. It's not to make 8-figure to 9-figure brand deals. That's not the intention. The intention is to, provide value to the people and also create that personal brand along the way.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it. Like the branding side of it is very important, especially the social media presence and like the recognition, like you said, when you go into a place.